Hi, welcome back to Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world. And welcome back to another player profile segment. This one is an absolute corker. But before I get into it, guys, make sure you subscribe to Cannon Fodder TV on all platforms. Hit the notification button so you can receive all the latest and greatest news right here on Cannon Fodder. So yes, the next player is an absolute corker of a segment this time, and I've got to thank this player stroke manager who helped me make the transition from supporting the sport of cricket over to football and eventually supporting Arsenal. Who am I talking about? Terry Neal. William John Terence Neal, born 8th of May 1942, is a Northern Ireland former footballer and manager. A former defender, he captained and later managed Arsenal, guiding the club to a European final in 1980 and 3 consecutive FA Cup finals between 1978 and 1980, winning a dramatic final against Manchester United in 1979. Before his 7-year spell as manager of Arsenal, he managed Hull City, Tottenham Hotspurs and Northern Ireland on a part-time basis. Born in Belfast, Neal played as a youth for Bangor before moving in December 1959 to Arsenal. He spent a year in Arsenal's youth side before making his debut against Sheffield Wednesday on the 23rd of December 1960, aged just 18. At first, he played sporadically during the early 1960s, getting between 10 and 20 games a season through the first half of the decade, though on one occasion he became the youngest Arsenal captain in the club's history at age just 20. Playing either at centre-half or wing-half, Neal established himself in the side in 1964-65 with 29 league appearances, and one of the younger members of Billy Wright's team was kept by Wright's successor, Bertie Mead, when he took over in 1966. Neal became a first-choice player through the mid-1960s, playing over 40 games a season for 3 seasons in a row, and also playing in the 1968 Football League Cup final against Leeds United, which Arsenal lost. Neal played no part in Arsenal's European Fairs Cup 1969-70 final, but he made 5 appearances earlier in the cup run. During this time, Neal had also become a regular for Northern Ireland, having made his debut in 1961. He became captain of his country in 1968, but a bout of jaundice restricted his appearance for club and country in 1968-69, and he missed the 1969 Football League Cup final, which Arsenal lost to Swindon Town. Unable to regain his place, Neal only made 25 appearances in 1969-70 season, and it became clear that he was surplus to requirements at Arsenal. In total, he played 275 times for Arsenal, scoring 10 goals. Although still only 28, Neal was signed by Hull City in July of 1970 as player-manager. One of the youngest ever managers in the history of the game, he later became player-manager of his country as well. Neal retired from playing in 1973, by which time he had only won 59 caps for Northern Ireland, breaking Danny Blanchflower's record, though Pat Jennings would go on to break Neal's record in due course. Neal left Hull a year later to succeed Bill Nicholson as manager of Arsenal's fierce rivals, Tottenham Hotspurs. He managed Spurs for 2 seasons, narrowly avoiding relegation in his first term. Having improved Tottenham Hotspur's fortunes with a 9th place finish in his second season in charge, Neal was recruited by Arsenal board to replace Bertie Mead on the 9th of July 1976 at the age of 34. He became the youngest Arsenal manager to date. With new signings like Malcolm MacDonald and Pat Jennings, and a crop of talent in the side such as Liam Brady and Frank Stapleton, the club enjoyed their best form since 1971, double reaching the trio of FA Cup finals in 1978, 1979 and 1980. Arsenal lost the other two FA Cup finals that Neil guided the club to, but were victorious in 1979 final, with the Gunners winning 3-2 against Manchester United in one of the most exhilarating endings to a FA Cup final in history. In the 86th minute, Arsenal were leading 2-0. United scored two late goals to equalise. With the game poised for extra time, Alan Sunderland scored a last-minute winner for Arsenal to end the game 3-2. In 1979, Neal became close but was unsuccessful in his attempt to pull off a major transfer coup for Arsenal by signing Diego Maradona as a highly rated teenager from Argentina's Boca Juniors, aged 19. Maradona is quoted as saying, "When I was 19, they tried to buy me and another player from Argentina Juniors, around the time Ricky Villa and Ozzy Adidas signed for Tottenham, but it didn't happen. I sometimes wonder what might have happened." Neal also wanted to sign midfielder Glenn Hoddle from Spurs, but Hoddle had reservations about moving across North London to join his team's arch rival. Hoddle later said, "I don't think my brothers would have ever spoken to me again if I joined Arsenal." Neal guided Arsenal to the 1980 final of the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. In the semi-final against Juventus, Arsenal drew 1-1 in the first leg at Highbury and were expected to have formidable task in the second leg in Turin. But a late goal 2 minutes from time by Arsenal's teenage substitute Paul Vasson gave Arsenal a 1-0 away victory and a 2-1 aggregate win. It was the first time Juventus had lost to a British team on home soil. In the final, Arsenal lost on penalties to Valencia in front of 40,000 people at the Heysel Stadium. Arsenal's success in cup competitions could not be matched in the league. The retirement of Malcolm MacDonald at the premature age of 29 due to a knee injury, and the departures of stars such as Brady and Stapleton hampered Arsenal's league title ambitions. In 1980-81 season, Neal guided Arsenal to a third-place finish in the final table, the closest in 10 years that they had come to winning the league title. In 1981-82 season, Arsenal finished 5th in the league. Neal's 1982 summer signing striker Lee Chapman from Stoke City for £500,000 was not a success, with Chapman scoring just 4 goals in 23 appearances for Arsenal before being sold to Sunderland for £200,000. However, in 1982-83 season, Arsenal reached the semi-finals of the FA Cup and the League Cup, but lost both semi-finals to the old foe, Manchester United. In June 1983, Neal signed striker Charlie Nicholas from Celtic for £800,000. Liverpool and Manchester United had also been keen to buy Nicholas, who had scored an impressive total of 50 goals in all competitions for Celtic in 1982-83 season. Nicholas reportedly became the highest paid footballer in Britain after his move to Arsenal, and later became a cult figure at the club. After being given an improved 3-year contract at the start of 1983-84 season, Neal was sacked by Arsenal on the 16th of December 1983. The dismissal was a decision which club chairman Peter Hillwood had reportedly agonised over. Subsequently, retired from football, aged only 41. Terry Neal, and just to think that he almost signed Diego Maradona at the age of 19, and he almost signed Glenn Hoddle if he weren't thinking about his brothers, and we almost won the UEFA Cup final but we just kind of came up short. Fantastic segment, fantastic player profile. Guys, listen, make sure you subscribe to Canon 4A TV so you can receive all the news. Hit the notification button so you can receive all the latest and greatest news right here on Canon 4A TV. And if you've been wondering who or what you've been watching Canon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans all over this world.